morning, good day, and hello to everybody. My name is Marco Oropesa. I am the co-chair of IRG's Global Leadership Webinars. Today, we are going to learn a little bit about Google and how they rule the world and the internet world. I welcome all the attendees and especially to our guests. First, a little bit of an introduction to IRG, to all our guests. We are a group of professionals who have had experience as expats or some international exposure. We have held senior business positions, and we are here trying to help each other, sharing best practices, sharing resources, contacts, and global market perspectives for the better good. At the end of the day, everything we do is to help each other and, for our own advancement and the group advancement. Membership is by invitation only, and to our members, we remind them that we have now a letter that is ready to go, drafted by our chairman, and this time I put there, you see there, how do we get there? You go into the website, look for key documents, the market literature, and you have the invitation, so you can copy paste and send to your colleagues, friends, customers, vendors, you name it. So invite people to join the association. The more we have, the better. And also remember that we have now a new corporate membership program. And the information on this program is in the About section of the website. Just a little bit about the upcoming events. Right now, the only thing we have scheduled between now and the next webinar is the next webinar, which is entitled Coming to America. And this is going to be in terms of what the challenges companies have for the cultural legal changes for top luxury markets. Tom Butler will be our speaker, and we are obviously looking forward to it. And last thing, in terms of announcements, remember that we need inputs for the newsletter. Send them to Peter Ramp, and the email address is right there. Well, today, as I said, we are going to learn about how Google rules the world and rules the internet world. Our speaker is Mr. John Hamerlinck. He is the president and CEO of WesCat, Inc. And he has many other positions, as you can see there, and has held many others. He's really passionate about aligning the business strategy and then the search engine optimization, so you can actually leverage that and have a good presence in the web for your company. He has had leadership experiences in many industries with many companies, and as you can see also, he's a combat veteran, so my respect to him. I know that he has, he wants to take as much time as possible for the presentation, so I'm not going to go into more details. And with no further ado, I welcome John, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marco. I'll try to get the screen up the right way. Hope everybody can see the screen. I started out this webinar to align business strategy with search engine optimization for better return on investment. What I found working with my clients and individuals is, for the most part, we don't exactly understand how Google works, how search works, and how we can be found on the internet. Consequently, most of you and your companies have invested considerable amount of time and effort into websites and online social media, but few of us are getting any return on investment, and few of us are even being found. To ensure you get a good return on the investment, it is important to understand how Google dominates online search and how you can leverage that dominance for your own purposes. I want to have a little fun with this. I mean, Google isn't the evil empire, but some people think they might be. If you look at a definition of empire in Merriam-Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, you'll see a couple things. One is a major political unit having a territory of great extent or a number of territories or peoples under a single sovereign authority, especially one having an emperor as a chief of state. Now, there's been many global empires in our history, and I'm only going to mention a few of them. All of these have similar characteristics. They either controlled a large percentage of the world's population, or they controlled land mass and population, or maybe they just controlled the trade routes. Or in a lot of cases, in the case of the US after World War II, we controlled most of the world's industrial base and really had unequal influence across the world. Now let's talk about Google in 2017. Google controls 90% of global search online for information. That's amazing. And Reuters in 2015 called Google's chairman, Eric Schmidt, God Emperor in Chief. And to quote Eric Schmidt to Reuters, Eric said, "We don't need you to type at all because we know where you are. We know where you've been. We can more or less guess what you're thinking about." And then he asked, "Is that over the line?" But you have to understand the perspective of empires is changing. It's not conventional like we used to think of empires. Airbnb, it's the largest accommodation provider, but they don't own any real estate. Uber is the largest taxi service, but it owns no vehicles. Facebook is the most popular media owner, but it creates no content itself. Alibaba is the world's most valuable retailer, but it has no inventory. And of course, Google controls access to the world's information, but with no army. When you think of Google, you now have to think about Google's parent company, Alphabet. Alphabet has acquired more than 200 companies, averaging more than one per week since 2015. You all know some of these companies, Woz, Google Maps, YouTube. They're also in longevity, human health, self-driving cars, self-driving aircraft now, Google Earth, and they even have Google Space. Can you imagine trying to create an org chart for this number of companies? Google does rule. It has more than 90% of global market share of searches. It controls 1.6 billion monthly searches. Its homepage is available in 80 languages. Think about those global empires and what they have influence over. Interesting note, in 2015, Google dropped their motto of "do no evil." Now, we're not sure if Alphabet just thought that was too childish or there was something else behind it. I can't quote Star Wars, but Google has absolute power over our searches. What can you do about it? Well, Francis Bacon said, "Knowledge is power." Join me for a journey of more understanding about Google's rules, information access. Knowing Google can help you leverage their dominance for yourself and your business. Google decides what you get in any online search. You have to remember that. How the search engine works. Well, there's a lot of misconceptions about search engines. You've heard about crawlers and bots. Basically, crawlers and bots are just software that Google and other search engines use to search the internet. Not when you're doing the search. These crawlers and bots are working behind the scenes, following links across the internet to find pages. When they find a page, they store and index that page at one of Google's data centers or the other search company's data centers. That's the only reason why you get such fast results when you do a search. When you do a search, it's not going out and searching the internet. It's going to one of Google's 5 massive data centers around the world to find this information. Google indexes all this information, but when you do a search, they use a very sophisticated set of algorithms. And you might have heard some of these names: Panda, Penguin, Hummingbird. These are major updates to the algorithms. But essentially, the algorithm is used to find relevant, authoritative, and trusting web pages to deliver to you when you do a search. That term is also, the results are often called SERPs, or search engine result pages. You'll recognize them in a minute. But those 200 characteristics are considered, and it might be more, are constantly being updated. This is a list from Moz, which is one of the major software applications out there focused on search engine optimization. You can see every year there's updates to Google's algorithm. They try to prevent spammers from figuring out what the algorithm does to deliver searches. They try to prevent hackers from taking advantage of what the algorithms are to place their websites higher than others. There's literally maybe 500 to 600 updates annually for their algorithms. And each of these characteristics is weighted when they consider what type of research or what type of results they're going to give you. Here's some basics on search. It's amazing how many of us don't know what's available to us in search. One of the more interesting ones that I have never clicked on until just recently is this "I'm feeling lucky" button. Now, it's not really a roulette wheel to see what kind of search will come up. It actually presents what Google feels is the most relevant page that you might be searching for. So instead of getting a whole page of results that you can sift through, they will bring you back one important page. So if you want to save time, try hitting "I'm feeling lucky" sometime, and you'll get that one page that Google believes that you were searching for. Let's talk a little bit about what happens when you start typing. Now, since there's a lot of expats here, I try to use expat in the search to give you some examples. So if you type in expat executive, anytime you type in anything, you'll see 4 or 5 suggestions in a drop-down menu. This can speed up your search, but it's also relevant because these are actual searches that are taking place on the internet. So Google's returning to you what other people are searching for to ease your search. The suggestions will become different depending on the terms. When I changed expat executive to executive search, as you can see down here, it started delivering local results to me. Google's very big on knowing where you're at and returning local results. So if you search for pizza, the chances are you're going to get local results on pizza, not pizza places that are halfway across the country. Some other things that are important when you get this result page. Now, you've all seen these result page. And if you notice at the top here, there's 669,000 results. I don't think any of us go through all 669,000, but they're delivered in less than 1 second. The only reason that's possible, or the only way that's possible, is because it went to Google's massive data center to search for this information. It did not go out across the internet. So we all know what one of these search pages look like. And we probably are familiar with the little ad insignia on the first 2 of the searches that have come up, our search results. This means that these companies have paid Google for AdWords, so that when you search for the words that are appropriate for their company or their web page, they'll come up first. Now, if you're like me, I seldom ever click on the ads. I usually go to the next results. I want to talk a little bit about some of these results and what you're looking at. Each result has a title. The title is designed to attract you to that result. 7 secrets to success type of thing. Then they give you the actual URL of the web page. You can click on that and then go to the actual page. But what I want you to know is the actual description that's under this. In search terms, that's called a meta description. Essentially, you can provide that description of each and every web page. If you don't provide it, Google will take the first couple sentences of your content and present that, or the first few sentences that have a keyword in that you were searching for. In this case, you see expat is in bold, you see that executive is in bold. So Google presumes that since this sentence has those words in it, that it was relevant to your search. One of the things that's important, I'll show you later, sorry about that, James Comey just requested more money. Under the 7 secrets of success, you can see there's actually a date. So this company, it turns out Forbes, so it's an article, but has dated itself. So the chances are when you're looking at these searches, you probably won't click on this because this information's 5 years old, or maybe you're looking for a historical perspective, but that's why it's important to define your own description. You want the description to be something that when I'm searching, I'm going to click on. Now, at the bottom of the page, in case you haven't noticed, many of you have, it also will give you searches related to the search you just made. So these are actual searches that people are utilizing on the internet, and it gives you some guidance of maybe a better way to search for the information you want. Now, some of us might go on to page 2, page 3. In this case, for 779,000 or 600,000, I'm not sure how many pages there'll be, but very few of us go past page 1 or 2, and that'll become very important later in this discussion. Now, don't forget the shortcuts. I find many people don't know about these shortcuts. After you do the search and the search result comes up, there's a menu bar right underneath it. You can have all your search that you can look through for relevant content, or you can click on one of these menu items. In this case, I clicked on news, so it just gives me news related to expat executive. If I click on images, it'll give me a bunch of images related to it. And of course, shopping, I guess the shopping might come up with suitcases or something, I'm not sure. But what's really important is often the best information is in videos. And if you click on videos, essentially you're going to get YouTube videos. And if you don't remember, Google owns YouTube. But this will save you some time in trying to search through search results. And often these menu items are more relevant to your search. All right, we'll talk a little bit about search engine optimization. Essentially, a lot of you have invested time and money in websites, and you aren't getting any visitors unless they go directly to your website through offline marketing, your business card, flyers you left out, or some other type of enticement to get them to go directly to your website. Search engine optimization is about getting people to your website, helping them find your website, and basically improving your ranking in Google so that you do come up in that first page of search ranking. You know, setting up a business was always about location, location, location. Now this young man is actually on a highway between Basra and Baghdad in Iraq in 100-degree heat. But he's got a good location because there's no 7-Elevens, there's no Wawa gas stations, there's no place else to stop for refreshments. So he figures that it's a good place to sell soda alongside the highway. It's always been important to have a corner lot. It's always been important to be on that exit just off the interstate. But on the internet, there are no corner locations. There are 84 million websites in the US alone. And think about it, There's no corner locations in any of those websites. You have to be able to be found, and you can't do it with a physical location. When you're thinking about strategy for your online presence, it's no different than the strategy you have to use for your salespeople. You have to know who your prospect is. Online, we call it customer persona, and any kind of marketing, you call it customer persona. Who is your ideal prospect? Where do they live? How old are they? What's their education level? What kind of business titles do they have? And most importantly, where do they hang out on the internet? If you're going to attract people to your website and you know where they hang out, you have a much better chance of getting information in front of them or linking to the place where they're going to be, such as LinkedIn, might be Facebook, it might be Twitter. So it's important to know who your customer is and where they hang out. When you do a search, or I do a search, typically searches are in stages. But what's most important is businesses like to differentiate themselves from all their competitors. But in a search, I don't know what that differentiation is. I haven't met this company yet. I haven't met you yet. I don't know how you are different. So the chances are I will not be searching for that difference or that differentiation. I'll be searching for common terms, and I'll often search in question form. My first search will be exploratory or educational. Okay, what is an expat executive? Or it might be, what is the best running shoe? Or what is the best suitcase? The next type of search is navigational. Where do I find an expat executive? Or where do I find the best suitcases? Or where do I find the best pizza? The last part, and to me this is most important when working with clients, is I want to be there when the searcher is ready to do a transaction. They're ready to do something. I want to capture them when there's money in action, when they want to make something happen. So that might be, I need to hire an expat executive, or I want a pizza now, or I want that running shoe. I'm ready to buy it. In order to be there, or rather, in order to show up in those results page, you have to think carefully about what keywords you use in your content, in your titles, in your descriptions. It doesn't do any good to be using those differentiations if nobody's searching for them. Now, there's easy ways to find out who's searching for what. And I showed you some of that with the Google search. They give you searches that are relevant to the words you were using. If you put in words and you don't get back anything, then you know people aren't searching for it. There's also Google Trends, and I'll show you some graphs on Google Trends here in a minute. Google Webmaster Tools, there's all types of software applications and websites that you can use for free for a limited number of searches to find out what words people are searching for. I like to use Google Trends to start with. Is anybody searching for the term? Okay, if you look at the top, you can see expat executive, international executive, and the expat jobs. Okay, now expat executive is the blue line. I hate to say it, but nobody's searching for expat executive. They are searching for international executives, if you can see by the red line. And this actually tells you the frequency of search, 100 searches a day, down to 50 searches a day. Same way with the expat jobs. So they're looking for their phrase rather than the expat executive. The other thing Google Trends will tell you is where people are searching for this term. If you note here, the red are international executives are being searched most in the US and in India, the expat jobs in South Africa and Australia. So if you're a company and you know what geographic region you're targeting, this will help you know who's searching for that term. If your target audience is South America, well, it doesn't seem like anybody in South America are searching for these terms, so you may need to try some other terms. Search engine optimization is complicated. There's a lot to it. There are some basics, and I'll try to go over some of the basics with you today, but it's impossible in this time frame to cover everything. I'll talk about some technical SEO. This just means if Google's bots or crawlers are out there looking for web pages, if you have technical issues on those web pages, the crawler or bot just gives up and moves on. It will not take the time to index your page or index your content if you have these types of errors in it. There's a lot of issues with on-page SEO that if you follow the recommendations from Google, you're more likely to be indexed, you're more likely to be found, you're more likely to place in that search ranking on that front page. And as I said before, if you aren't on that front page, the chances are your prospects aren't going to find you. There's also off-page SEO, and this gets even more complicated. In Google's algorithm, your likes, your mentions, your shares on social media, your backlinks from authoritative sites all count. They all are weighted in that result page. For those of you that are on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is actually considered a very authoritative site. So if you have a link back to your site from LinkedIn, from a mention or a share, that's considered very authoritative. What I do when I'm working with a client is the first thing I do is to do a technical audit. Now, you can actually do this yourself, and I'll show you how to do it in a second. I use a software called Moz. I use another one called SEMrush, and it has software that will actually crawl your website just as Google would crawl your website or one of the other search engines, and it follows the link. If you have a lot of errors, if you have a lot of pages or missing meta descriptions, you are not going to get indexed well, and you may not ever rank in the search rankings. Here's another way you can look at things. I call it looking under the covers. You can see in the left corner it says Moz, M-O-Z. You can Google Mozbar, M-O-Z-B-A-R, and Mozbar is a Chrome extension that you can download, and it attaches to Chrome. You can see this little symbol over here on this side. When you put in your URL for your web page or any web page, you can click on this, and it actually looks under the covers for on-page elements, attributes, links. But you can see in this example, this is a local organization. This is their URL, and this is their page title. Here's part of the challenge with searching for this organization. They call themselves the Business Transition Council of Tampa. I'm a member of it, so I'll talk about it. Okay, no business owner in search is probably going to search for business transition. They may search for skills and resources for entrepreneurs. Therefore, in this page title, the best thing this organization could do to be noticed by Google and be ranked by Google is to take this part and put it in the front, skills and resources for entrepreneurs, and then put their name in the back. So Google finds the name first and indexes that. In this case, you'll notice there's no meta description. What Google's going to do when there's no meta description, as I said before, they will find a sentence or two of content and put it up for that description. The chances are that may not be interesting enough for a prospect to click on. If it's not, then you won't get any follow through from even getting that first page ranking. Might as well tell you a lot of things. One of the other things that might be interesting is headings are important. Headings are as a heading of a paragraph. The crawlers look at these headings to determine what's in the content in the paragraph. If the crawler looks at this and sees business transition, it doesn't see these keywords, the chances are it won't even look further to the content to see if the content is relevant. This is just a quick way for you can find out if your web page or your company's web page is using any SEO. Let's see. I think I already went through technical audit. There we go. I went backwards, sorry. Once you get visitors to the website, there's some great tools out there that determine what visitors are doing. Now, this gets to be a little creepy when you think about all this information is available when you visit a website. This happens to be from Google Analytics. This is a client of mine. It's a cybersecurity firm. Probably does one of the better jobs in security assessments than any firm out there. But their website wasn't being found. If the website wasn't being found, they weren't generating any leads off the website. And even though they had a tremendous investment in the website and the pages, they weren't getting much of a return on investment. Well, if you look at this Google Analytics, you'll see they'll show us how many pages a person looked at when they visited the website. Of course, it tells you the number of users on the website, how long they spent on the website. Believe it or not, 1 minute and 16 seconds is pretty good because most of us don't stay on web pages very long. Often it's only 15 seconds or less. This bounce rate is actually pretty good too. Now, bounce rate essentially means if a visitor came to your website and immediately left, this bounce rate would be high, let's say in the 90%. A bounce rate of 60% essentially means 40% of the visitors hung around or they went to another page. So this is pretty good. It shows, the visitors on, in this case, a weekly basis, how many came to the website. So I can look at this and say, well, what did we do in December that got all these extra visitors here? The other thing that's important in looking at the analytics of what the visitors or what visitors came to the website is how many were new and how many were returning. Now, it's great to have new visitors, but it's very important to know that you're getting returning visitors because they're expressing now an interest in what you do or what your services are. Another thing I like to look at is the flow of visitors to the website. Now, somebody's tracking you. When you visit a website, it's tracking where you go on the website. In this case, it's showing me which page they started on, and then it's showing me where they go. But what's even more important is I had 4,000 visitors get here, okay, and I don't have nearly 4,000 in the next click or one click down. But I can tell where they went. They went to contact us, they went to about us, they went to careers, they went to resources, and then where did they go from there? Again, I'm looking at drop-offs. 182 went to contact us, and 48 went to about us. So it starts to give me some information about what visitors are doing. We can go back and adjust our keywords to get visitors to particular pages, or we can adjust our content and make sure we have the right call to action so we have more chance of converting these visitors to actual customers. It's all part of optimizing that online strategy with your business strategy. It's important to know where your visitors came from. In this slide, again from Google Analytics, it's showing me that 82% came from organic search. Well, that's great. Organic search essentially means that we have the right keywords in there. We have the right on-page SEO so that Google is finding us when a prospect is searching by keywords. Direct indicates that somebody's typing in your URL. So you might have given them a business card, you might have sent them an email, and they're clicking on the URL on the email. Referral might be due to ads that we've placed out on the internet, and they click through the ads and come back. Social, they found us through Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. So it's important to know where these clients are coming from. If your ideal prospect is out there on one of these social sites, you want to know that you're being effective with your LinkedIn business page or your Facebook business page or your tweeting or your other blogging. It's also important to know where they are in the country. In this case, the cybersecurity firm is located in Florida. They do business all across the country. So when they're advertising or when they're looking at who's interested in them, it's important to know a lot of the visitors are coming from Florida. You can see a lot of them are coming from Texas, some from California, some from New York. It also allows him to adjust his online advertising if he wants to target specific spots in the US. If the visitors are coming from overseas, it's important to know that too, because his business normally isn't an overseas business. You can drill down on Google Analytics all the way to the city level. You can draw down to individual IP addresses. Again, it's a little scary because Google knows who's there, knows who visited the site. Obviously, there's some other information here, but based on new users and the bounce rate for individual cities and the average time of sessions. All right, I went through that pretty quickly. Any one of the slides probably could have taken 15, 30 minutes a piece. If there's any questions now, it's a good time to entertain them. Bruce?
Thank you so much, John. If you'd like to ask John a question, you can type your question up into the question chat area, and I'll read those questions out loud for you. And with that, we have a question from Christina. Where do you see the flow of where people went and dropped off? Is that Google Analytics or using a different platform like Crazy Egg or something?
Well, there's a lot of platforms out there. And a lot of them will give you this information if you insert their code into the web pages. I prefer Google Analytics because I'm focused on Google since they do most of the searches. So what we have done is you sign up for a Google Analytics account and then you embed that code on your website to get those results. So this behavior flow is from Google Analytics I showed you. You can also get some from Google Search Console.
Thank you. Here's a question. What about Safari as a search engine?
Well, Safari is actually Google. Hate to break that to you.
Okay. What other search engines are there?
There's a wide variety of search engine out there. There's maybe 10 major ones. Certainly none of them as big as Google. I could actually end the slideshow and show you some of those. If you bear with me just a second. Can you see that? I'm not sure what.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see there's all kinds of, Bing is still a strong one. Yahoo's still out there. Actually, Facebook is a search engine, and so is YouTube. So Google it. You'll see there's 30 million results on top 10 search engines for 2017.
Great, thank you. The next question is from Venu. Any particular advice for startups? What's the kind of initial budget that will look appropriate at a minimum?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on whether you're e-commerce or your services. E-commerce is a lot more complicated. I didn't address that at all, and I don't have any e-commerce customers. What's most important is you actually come up with a strategy. You actually take time to understand, where your prospects are going to be, where you're going to find them, your value proposition. And I really suggest before you jump in designing a website that you look through, you do searches for keywords and understand what pages people will be interested in. One of the things I didn't cover, and I always do a competitive review. You can use Google to do that competitive research. You can do some of these other software applications. I like to see what the competitors are doing. So if you have a startup, chances are you're not as unique as you think you are, and you're going to be competing with somebody else. Look to see what they did. And, webmasters are great. Web designers are great. They can create really amazing websites. And there's two ways of doing it. You can create the website first and then go back and try to optimize it, or you can talk with somebody that's in search engine optimization and have them come up with a plan on how you should design your website. I hope that helps. It's complicated. You're talking about a budget. Man, there's some companies out there will build a website for a little bit of nothing. They'll build them for $500. Search engine optimization, a lot of the companies will say they do it. They'll say they'll do it for another couple $100 a month. Chances are they're doing it very generically. So to get a good website and to have it optimized up front of, let's say, 20 pages, you're going to have to spend $10,000.
Thank you, John. Christina asked another question. You mentioned programs where we could run keywords through to see what are the most popular, etc. When it comes to creating meta descriptions, are there any quick best practices you could share?
Well, yeah, there are. And I use SEMrush. Moz, Squirrely is another one out there. They have very interesting names. Obviously, they came from Silicon Valley. But SEMrush actually has a content recommendation tool. I like it because I can put in the keywords I'm thinking about, and it will return to me within seconds similar keywords, because Google doesn't like you to stuff websites with keywords anymore. They like keywords that are similar and prove that the topic you're actually talking about, that you know something about it. But then it suggests titles, suggests the meta. It will also provide competing sites or competing articles. And I find this the most interesting because I can look at who I'm competing with for that page rank. And that determines to me how to write the meta description. And the meta description, a good way to think about it, because it's supposed to be less than 160 characters. Think about what you would do if you wanted to tweet about that article to get somebody to click on it.
Thank you. The next question is from John. What is the relevance of tags entered into Word docs or converted to PDF?
Well, there's some disagreement over tags, but the tags are somewhat similar to keywords. But if you look at when you put tags on a web page, it helps Google categorize the pages in the website. And the more tags are repeating tags about subjects, it allows them to group that information together. So it's a way of mapping a website. So it's relevant. It helps Google index is the best way I can describe it. One of the things I didn't talk about is, the internet is about words. Google doesn't read photos. It doesn't read graphics. In SEO, your graphics and photos have to have a description and what they call alt, A-L-T tag, for Google to know that there's a photo that even exists, or there's a graphic that even exists. It's one of the major mistakes I see, because people have some great graphics out there, but Google doesn't know they're there. So they don't count towards your ranking if you don't use them.
Great. Also, a question from Ernesto. How often do you need to review your SEO in relation to algos that keep changing?
Well, I try to keep up with the changes, because there's a lot of people out there keeping up with them. And on large sites, almost instantly see the impact when you're looking at those Google Analytics. So I basically run reports weekly that shows what's happening on the website. I run reports weekly that follow your brand across your website, follow the links. I've known people that their visitors have went from hundreds of visitors or even thousands of visitors to zero overnight with one of these changes. The classic example was the payday loan algorithm change, as Google decided to put in something that identified what they thought was spam or just promotional material and not real good content. So these payday loan companies literally overnight lost all their organic visitors. So you have to keep up with it, and you have to look at your ongoing visitors, like I showed you in the one graph, to understand what's going on.
Great. And here's a question from Christina. Is Google Analytics free, and are there different levels that you can pay for, or is everything you've talked about covered with a basic subscription?
Google Analytics is free. Google Search Console is free. Bing Search Console will return some of the similar things as Google Analytics. Google wants you to be successful. They won't tell you everything that's in their algorithm, but they will give you data back. The key to it is you have to put Google's code on your website. So it's helping Google at the same time it's helping you, because Google also sees everything that's going
on. Thank you. Here's a question. My web hosting company provides SEO. Is that enough?
From what I've seen, it usually isn't. And I host with Bluehost. I host with GoDaddy. Recently, I picked up a client that uses Haibu. They make some great websites, and they offer search engine optimization when they set up the website. But typically, it's very generic. And when I go in and look at those titles and the descriptions, they aren't really optimized as much as they can be optimized. So they're doing the generic stuff. It's like the quick oil change down the block instead of going to, the dealer. Just depends on how important that organic search is, and what kind of visitors you're getting. If you're getting, good traffic flow from the hosting company, all the better. But typically, you get what you pay for.
And we have just one final question. Should I have a personal website?
Yeah, that's a good question. And be honest with you, I think if you do a good job on LinkedIn, you're just wasting your money with a personal website for branding, unless you're selling services or something. If you're selling services or something else, it might be good to get a personal website. But people have to find you. So you might as well just give them your LinkedIn profile on your business card as you are a personal website.
One more question from Ernesto. Are blogs optimized the same as websites?
Absolutely. Blogs are very important. Establish relevancy to a website or to your services. But each blog has to be optimized, just like each page has to be optimized. When I'm doing blogs, probably the most difficult part of it isn't writing the content, it's optimizing the content to make sure that blog can be found and that it will be indexed. And there's things that you can do to make sure Google indexes it, and you can use these Google tools to make sure that your pages have been indexed by Google, which is important. I often run across clients with websites that have never been indexed by Google.
Okay, thank you very much. And that was the final question. Marco?
I guess we have to thank John for this wonderful presentation, and everybody, thank you for joining, and hope to have you again next month with the next topic. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.